Hey there, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. So I get this question a lot of times because people, rely on who is doing the closing to ensure that what they're buying or what they actually went and saw and they think they wrote a contract on is really what they're buying. So let's break that down for a minute, because if you go buy a car and you drive off the lot with the car, you assume that you own that car because you have a title that says I own this car, and you can look at the title to that car and see the VIN number or the vehicle identification number, and you can actually go look at the car and see that is the identification number for that vehicle. So you're sure that the title that you have goes to the car that you're driving off that lot. But how do you ensure when you buy a piece of property that the property that you're buying is in fact the property that you went and walked around and think you wrote a contract on? Because there's a lot of different pieces to this that you are relying on professionals to take care of and make sure that that happens. So you go and look at a piece of property and you want to make an offer. You love this house. This is your dream house. My gosh, I can see my family living here. And you want to write a contract on that house. So you decide you're going to go write a contract on that house, and you rely on that real estate agent to make sure they know that the house that they're writing the contract on for you is in fact that house. We're also relying on the real estate agent that put that house on the market for the sellers, that they know that the house they put on the market is in fact the house that's sitting there. So there's a lot of legal terminology. Then you get to the point where you're going to go to closing, and the title company is doing a closing for you, and they have the seller sign a deed, which is the document that transfers the ownership to you, and it has a description of a piece of property on it. How do you know that the description of that property is what you went and walked and looked at, did your walkthrough on? You know you can see you and your family living there. You have your furniture being delivered this afternoon. How do we know that that really is what what you actually went and looked at? So there's a couple things at play here. At the end of the line, the title insurance company is insuring you that what you're buying is what you think you're buying. But this goes to a couple of different things, and I want you just to understand some of these pieces. Hey there, Angela. How are you this morning? Good morning, Miss Karen. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I always appreciate seeing you ladies and you and anybody else that gets on with us. If you find what we're talking about valuable, please click that share button. It really helps the audience get more exposure by other people's questions. Other people may have similar questions, or it may spur things that we're talking about. So, all right, so let's talk about this. How do we know that what we're buying is really what we think we're buying, what we physically see out there? So, as I said, at first you have the agent that is, the real estate agent that is working for the seller, that has done their research and makes sure that the property that they list is in fact, on the paperwork, is in fact that house that's sitting there. The realtor that is writing the contract for you to buy that property is relying on the information that the seller posted. And at the when you get ready to go to closing, the title company doing that closing is actually ensuring that what you think you're buying is what's sitting there. Now, as I said, there's a couple pieces that go into this. Number one, the way that title companies or mortgage companies define what property they're insuring and what property they're loaning money against is that legal description. Now let's talk about, what is that legal description? What in the heck does that even mean? Hey there, Miss Karen. How are you this morning? Good morning, Cecilia. I hope you're enjoying your trip. So a legal description is an actual typed up description of the property that's sitting there. It really doesn't define the house at all. It defines the property where the house is sitting. So it describes that piece of property based on previous records, what has been transferred between different owners. Now, that property, let's say, for example, it was a farm, and then it was purchased by a developer and cut up into pieces, and now you have individual lots, and homes are now sitting on those lots. So that legal description has changed. It's morphed. It used to be a legal description with a large, let's say 240 acre farm that now is is divided into individual lots. And so some things have changed in that legal description, because if you're purchasing one of those lots because you're buying a brand new house, you're not buying that 240 acre farm. So the legal description has changed. And how has that changed? Well, there is a professional out there that is a professional land surveyor. And when things change on property or identifying a piece of property, they physically go out, they search the land records, and then they physically go out and determine if what is in the records describing those ownerships through the different chain of ownerships, if that is in fact what the property is that you think you're buying. And when a property changes, in that example, from a farm to lots, then the legal description changes, and a surveyor, a professional land surveyor, has to go out and determine what those look like. And they record a plat, and that's a story for another day. I don't want to give you too much information, but the short of it is, always having a professional land surveyor involved is very important, because it determines if what the land records say that owner owns is in fact what's available and what they can sell. And if that's the case, then it gives us an actual description based on what you see out there and what is physically located in the land records about what's being transferred. Because the title company that's doing your closing is going to ensure that that property is what you expect if a survey is done, because they're relying on that professional to guarantee that what they can physically see is what's in the land records. You have to remember that title companies are not surveyors. They're relying on the paperwork and the records that come through. So it's always very important for you to have a professional land surveyor involved for this exact reason. We want to make sure that the wording that's in that legal description is in fact what's sitting out there on the property that you think you're buying. So I probably totally confused you, but what the purpose of my comments all the time on Coffee with Connie is to maybe spur questions, to have you think about things that maybe was something that came up in a previous situation for you. Maybe you're having a situation right now that you don't really understand where to go, or maybe you want to make sure that you never have one, and so maybe that spurs a question. So I like to make sure that you guys have as much information as you can. I like to break things down into little pieces, so hopefully it helps you understand lots of the pieces of the process. This process is a very long and involved process, and we want to make sure that it's smooth and simple for you. So we try to give you all that information. So hopefully I maybe made you think about a question, maybe made you think about something a little bit more involved, maybe helped you understand something a little bit better. In any of those events, please click that share button so we can share to people that you know, because they may be going through this situation. Hey there, how are you? I really appreciate all of you guys tuning in this morning. Hey Tina, how are you? Thank you so much for your time and for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you looking at Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. And if you have questions, message me in the messages or reach out to me individually. I'd love to help you answer those questions. Talk to you soon. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.